welcome to episode 325 of Retro Encounter, RPG Fans' weekly podcast of many topics. I'm Mike Sollosi, and listeners, we are back with the same topic as last week, and I am one BioWare game further down the checklist. I finished Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic way far in advance because this game was mostly compelling and a joy to play. I had a lot of fun finishing KOTOR for the first time, and I have some capital T thoughts, but who will I be sharing those with today? First, Jonathan Logan.
Hello, all.
And also Audra Bolt.
Hello, hello.
So, Audra and Jono, this game is really good.
Yes.
I was,
Yes.
It turns out it's considered to be one of the best RPGs ever made for fairly good reason, actually.
yeah, it has a lofty reputation, and that reputation is earned. This is a good ass RPG, and it was while I wasn't surprised by the every direction it took, like it was always at least interesting or satisfying. And
Yeah.
and I mean, like, how many RPGs of this era can you always say that about? This is
True. Let alone an RPG that's based on another property.
That's very true.
yeah, there have been like video game adaptations of non-video game IP have their own, troubled history that we don't need to delve into in this podcast. Although I will say that one of the most disappointing video games I've ever played is the NES Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which will not be getting coverage on a future episode of Retro Encounter. I can assure you of that.
That's too bad. I would totally be on that episode.
Oh no, you don't want to play this game. Trust me.
I've played this game.
Oh.
I'm not happy I played this game, but I played this game.
It has like 1989 open world ideas, but the less I say about it beyond that, the better. But anyway, KOTOR has some open world ideas because they do give you some freedom in the middle chapters for how to approach the story, which is something that is recreated in several BioWare games, which we mentioned a little bit in the previous episode. In the previous episode, I was a little too concerned that it almost became a bit about BioWare in general or Mass Effect in particular. But that's but you can't
We
help
heard
but
Mass Effect. No.
well, I mean, but you can't help but compare it to its obvious family members, I guess. But also, before we go into the recap, I did make a mistake. Multiple times in the previous episode, I referred to the class that I had chosen in the second half of the game as a Jedi Knight. That's incorrect. The class is Guardian, and anyone that is, part of the Jedi Order of a certain rank is a Jedi Knight. That's my mistake. I should have said Guardian like 10 times when I said Jedi Knight. So there, that's out of the way. I was a Scout / Jedi Knight for most of the run of this game. But where we left off the previous episode was sort of the middle section of the game. As I said before, you need to find 5 pieces of a star map, and you automatically find the first one on the planet Dantooine, where the Jedi Enclave is. And then you have your choice of Tatooine, Kashyyyk, Manaan, and Korriban for the other 4 pieces. And once you find all 5, it gives you a map to where the Star Forge is located, and that's presumably where Malak is based. But something interesting happens in the middle there. But let's talk about those 4 planets in particular, because we only went into them a little bit in the previous episode. In Tatooine, you have to resolve something between the Zerka Corporation and the Sand People, and going into Sand People culture is one thing I wasn't expecting out of a Star Wars game.
Yeah.
And in Kashyyyk, you resolve something between Zerka and the enslaved Wookiees. And Kashyyyk is sort of an interesting society where the planet is a giant jungle that was a failed botany experiment by the Builder civilization, and the planets grew so wild that the Wookiees can only subsist by living in the canopy because the Shadowlands or underbrush is basically too wild. Then Manaan has this interesting combination of neutrality and hyper diplomacy and bureaucracy that you navigate multiple times. And Korriban is almost opposite world, where like evil is good and good is bad. But we can go into them each more specifically. Audra, did you have a favorite of these?
I liked both Kashyyyk and Tatooine, actually. They were probably my favorites. Tatooine was my first world I went to, and then Kashyyyk was the last one.
I went to them basically in the menu order. I did Tatooine, then Kashyyyk, then Manaan, then spoiler alert, then Korriban. But what did you like about Tatooine the most? Because I was sort of surprised that the Sand People were sort of a big part of it, because I always sort of thought of them in in the original Star Wars trilogy as being pretty pretty faceless and nameless for the most part. But you have to like negotiate with them, which was even though their language sounds like parched seals barking.
Yeah, actually, I liked the Sand People plotline probably the most out of the quests on Tatooine. I thought it was a really interesting look at them, especially considering in the movies they aren't given that much culture, really.
Oh, they just like to wave sticks around and get slaughtered by Anakin.
And again, I approached it from a pretty light side perspective, and I found out the error of my ways when I thought I could just, after successfully negotiating with them and basically resolving that part of the storyline, you can't just go around and loot their base. It turns out, because that does not endear you to them. If you have a peaceful settlement with them and you try to open up a treasure chest in their base, they all attack you.
Mhm.
So evidently it's a flimsier relationship than I thought. So that was one of several times in this game I decided to go and reload last autosave.
I was too scared to actually try to open anything. I thought that maybe it would have happened if they caught you doing that.
Yeah, that was prescient of you, because they totally will.
Yep. I think this is the section where HK-47 shines the most, because every single time he translates something at the end, he's like, can I just please kill them? Please? Let me shoot them. Come on. Why are we learning about them? Let's kill them. And it's very, very funny.
Yeah, this game, we didn't mention this in the previous episode, but KOTOR tries to hand wave away your main character's ability to understand almost every language, because they mentioned that it's a combination of your force sensitivity and and maybe a language implant that lets you understand dozens of languages but not speak many of them. So you're able to perfectly understand I mean almost any language that you encounter, like Hutt or Wookiee, or basically any of the stuff on Terrace, or pretty much everywhere. But you do need HK-47's protocol droid software to understand Sand People, because they aren't, I guess they aren't considered a civilized race enough to be in in whatever digest that the player character received.
One of the things I've always found really interesting about the Star Wars universe, and in this game continues it, all of these races kind of speak their own language. Like, everyone understands Basic, but it's kind of like you speak to a Hutt in Basic, and they respond in Huttese, I guess. And it's the same thing with like every other race in the Star Wars universe. They kind of speak their own language, and you understand that, but you respond in your language, and they respond back in theirs.
Tekken-verse.
A little bit, yeah. In Tekken, everyone speaks their native language. There's not a language setting,
but everyone understands it.
Yeah, and including King, whose language is jaguar roaring. But yeah, that flavor persists through the Star Wars movies, and this game came out in between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, so that was something that they preserved in these games, and it's just part of the unique Star Wars flavor that sort of fits in this world. But evidently the one time you really do need a protocol droid is for Sand People.
It's a tricky language,
and you have to sort of deal with the Sand People again if you accept a quest from one of the native Jawas to try and liberate some Jawas from the Sand People's clutches. But by the time I found that side quest, I was near the end of the game and ready to just and remembering the last time I tried to take something from the Sand People's base made me think, you know what, maybe I'm just gonna I'm already level 19. I'll just go press on to the end.
See, for me, it's pretty funny because I accepted that quest as soon as I got to Tatooine, and then I immediately forgot about it. And I'm just going around the Sand People base opening doors, and I open one, and there's some Jawas there, and they're like, "You rescued us!" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I was totally looking for you guys."
They're kind of like, "Oh yeah, these slaves are old. We don't need them anymore."
Yep.
I just it was that easy. I wish I had accepted that quest earlier, because I just didn't want to use Master Speed to hustle across the desert anymore.
Most useful damn skill in the game.
Yeah, it's your. I mean, to use Final Fantasy parlance, it's your haste spell and your chocobo. So it's
Yep.
it's yeah,
It's your sprint shoes.
master speed is incredibly important. Sprint shoes only in FF6. Usually, Final
Yeah.
Fantasy is pretty good about just letting you hold down B to walk faster, but in FF6 they attach it to a relic. That's
Yeah, but you put a pair of
that's a
sprint
weird
shoes
one.
on, and then you hit B, and you can really take off.
Right, but anyway, I didn't love Tatooine only because the giant empty desert in the middle that you have to hustle through. But a lot of the quests in there are good. I like dealing with the Sand People. I liked having to hunt a dragon to find the star map, mostly because the dragon pearl that you get from the dragon is a pretty good lightsaber crystal. I enjoyed that. I used it for I think the whole game, and and the side quest with the guy who doesn't pay enough attention to his wife. Did you do that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was funny.
Basically, this guy's wife programs his hunting droids to entrap him and kill him, and you're able to free him by solving I think 5 or 6 logic puzzles, and that was I think because I did Tatooine first, my first introduction to KOTOR, just using classic logic and math puzzles throughout its dungeons to to solve different things. There was like some he said, she said, they said stuff when you're deprogramming the droid in Korriban. In I think the final dungeon of the game, there's a 4-piece Towers of Hanoi puzzle.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
when I realized when it was explained to me and I realized what it was, like, oh, I know exactly how to do this, because anyone that's ever taken a computer science course has to program a Towers of Hanoi solver whenever they learn recursion. So yeah, that was fun. The puzzles in Knights of the Old Republic weren't sort of visual flair puzzle piece things like a Zelda dungeon or a lot of traditional JRPGs, but they put their time in. Like they make you think either outside the box or in their very specific box multiple times. And it was enough of a diversion that I always liked seeing a new dungeon puzzles, because I mean we're in an era of RPGs being too expensive to make to have a lot of dungeon puzzles nowadays. So having to like solve a Fibonacci sequence or a Towers of Hanoi puzzle or or backwards droid logic was sort of fun a lot of the time. At least to me, someone who genuinely enjoys math and word puzzles so much that I've played 7.5 Professor Layton games.
I'm on the fence about it, but I actually like the ones in KOTOR, so
I didn't find them overly intrusive. They were fairly well designed. They weren't my favorite part of the game, but it was nothing that I was particularly bothered by. I think it's a holdover of this era of RPGs rather than something that we've moved. Well, most design has moved past by now.
Yeah, but I mean, still, they put a damn Towers of Hanoi puzzle in this. It's it's like they went into the same puzzle books I had as a kid for some of these dialogue driven number and logic puzzles. It was like saving the guy who was set up by his wife. I don't know, pretty good side quest, with the signature BioWare snark, but with
it's an even better side quest if you're playing as a woman,
oh
because he can't stop flirting with you the entire
oh
time.
really?
And he's like, "Hey, gorgeous, how about you and get me out of this?" And we go back to the bar, and you're just like, "Wow, this guy deserves to die."
That's like, well, I am even less shocked that your wife is leaving you now.
Yep.
My character was a man, so he did not flirt with me, which would have been maybe even more amusing. It's like if he had flirted with the men and not the women, then maybe that would cast a different light on why they have irreconcilable differences.
Oh, I get it now. Yeah.
But that's not what we get in Tatooine. You find the star map at the end of this dragon's den, and I think maybe it's different if you handle the planets in a different order. But that's also where I fought Calo Nord for the last time.
yes.
Yeah, because he shows up outside of the cave.
Yeah, he ambushes you in a fight that wasn't that difficult for me, but gives you some pretty good heavy armor, which is great for Canderous or Karth. So that's most of what I got out of this side quest. Can get a little bit loot and treasure obsessed when I play RPGs sometimes, and which made getting new armor and a blaster from the Calo Nord fight just a total delight. And me looking up lightsaber crystals on GameFAQs and realizing that I shouldn't have spared one of the Sith students in Korriban to get his lightsaber crystal, just a little frustrating. So yeah, I like picking up good loot in this game.
And there's some good loot to have. I like them using lightsaber crystals as like a variety of different swords and using those to customize your swords with different abilities rather than continue. I mean, you do get a series of lightsabers, but the crystals specifically, it's a nice touch and it's a nice spin using Star Wars on the inventory system and equipping system. The game has a pretty good crafting system, actually.
Yeah, the crafting on your workbench is pretty good. I almost wish there was more of it because I think I only found a couple armors that use the armor
I think
crafting.
I only had about 3.
And I found a ton of lightsaber crystals, and which is great because I was a dual wielding lightsaber character, and I could not get enough of messing around with lightsaber crystals. The game's materia almost. By the end of the game, I like force powers are so useful that my party for almost the whole end game was it was Jolie and Juhani, and I only subbed in Karth for blaster damage or I know it's not Zalbag because that's Final Fantasy Tactics.
Zalbar?
Zalbar.
Big Z.
Yeah. Zalbar Zalbar or Mission if I wanted infiltration or hacking. But by the end of the game, it's like I want to have a team of Jedi because Jedi, like, having force powers is a huge advantage in this game.
Yeah.
It's also kind of fun just to watch 3 Jedi storm the gate, so to speak. Especially when you're fighting off with other Jedis, it just creates like that visual flair that Star Wars is known for.
Yeah, and then there's lots of lightning and force tornadoes and force jumping and zooming between target to target. It's very visually interesting when there's a lot of Jedi or Sith fighting at once.
There's nothing as visually hilarious as like this super angry and like menacing dark Jedi, and then you just put him in a force tornado and he's like he's just kind of like helpless in a little turnaround. It's funny. Yeah, I think it's hysterically funny.
It's like they turn into Wile E. Coyote and just are flailing around in cartoon wind for 10 seconds or something. It's
nothing takes away their dignity quite like a force tornado.
It never got old. Like the stasis and tornado and the force push or the destroy droid technique I used a lot in this game. It's like, oh, droids are weirdly strong against lightsabers. It turns out I have a kill button for them, which is pretty good.
Helpful, yeah.
But yeah, that was Tatooine. Kashyyyk we went into a little bit in the previous episode as well. Zalbar's brother is collaborating with slavers, and he's setting up his fellow Wookiees to be captured as slaves a lot. There's also Mandalorian bounty hunters killing Wookiees in the Shadowlands. There's poachers from the Zerga Corporation that Jolie has you take care of before he joins your party. I think the Wookiees are more established in the time of the movies because they just seem to be the dominant race on their planet when you see like Chewbacca in the prequel trilogy, but
and the Star Wars Christmas special.
Oh God, the less we talk about Life Day, the better. I have not seen the full Star Wars Christmas special because the digital copy that I found of it was so bad I couldn't make it through. It's awful.
You mean the video quality or the quality of the actual programming, or both?
Yeah, it was totally both. The Star Wars Holiday Special is trash television. They did an episode of a bad movies podcast that I love, How Did This Get Made, on it, and the hosts were shocked at how bad their watching was. But anyway, yeah, like it's weird that the terrible Star Wars Holiday Special is I think how they first identified Kashyyyk, but then they briefly have it in the prequel trilogy, and they give us a whole set of missions for it here.
It's my favorite mission. It's my favorite place in the game, actually, my favorite planet in the game, because everything on the planet is so integrated into the main plot and the character of Zalbar. Like everything that happens, like his side quest is part of the main plot, and it's really nicely integrated into that. I think, and plus, meet Jolie on the planet, which is possibly one of my favorite characters in the game.
Oh,
It's
I
just
love Jolie.
Oh yeah, a lot happens on this planet that moves it forward in a way that some of the other planets don't.
And also the sort of plot there doesn't end after you finish. After you get the piece of the Star Forge in the Shadowlands, if you I mean, we're all light side, so I think we restored Zalbar's father to the Wookiee throne, as it were, and got the Zerka Corporation out of there. But if you go back to Kashyyyk after you finish the story there, the slavers and the Wookiees are still fighting. Like the Zerka Corporation is not leaving quietly. I was actually in the middle of a Zerka Corporation quest line where I was trying to find I found the remains of this one guy's friends, and he was in indentured servitude to Zerka because his friends weren't, coming back and delivering promised goods. But it turns out Zerka had betrayed him and killed him, and it was basically just making him an indentured servant. But I didn't get to resolve that quest, even though I found the remains of the people in the Shadowlands. Because if you finish the stuff with Zalbar's family before then, like just all the Zerka people leave, and you can't finish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was just one annoying thing. It's the same level of annoyance I had where Terrace was completely destroyed, and I had 4 or 5 unresolved quests there. But it's the price you pay for not doing absolutely everything before moving the main plot along. I've been there.
Yes.
And I mean, you should get credit for Terrace because you're like, well, all of those quests are basically closed in the most severe way possible.
Yep.
And it's technically my fault, so I should get credit for it. Where's my experience?
All I'm saying was I was supposed to kill these 4 bounties, and all of them are definitely dead now. Why can't I collect on them?
I did it.
Someone did.
Those four targets are no more, and that is the conditions of the quest. So please give me my 750 experience. And let's move on to the next planet, Manan. I think this is my favorite planet in the game. I think that the main city is sort of too big and stuff is too spread far apart. Because again, I just wish things were closer together, so it would take me less time to navigate everything. But the fact that they have this bureaucracy and trial system that you have to interact with, I think, at least 3 times. There's so many ways that the different trials can go and how they're tied into the main plot at different times is really interesting to me. And
yeah, like a little Ace Attorney in your Star Wars.
A little bit. It's less Ace Attorney and finding contradictions, and more being put on the stand and demanding to present evidence. Because there's one part of the game where you have to try and steal some access codes from the Sith embassy. I mean, I was light side, so I don't know. Can you resolve that peacefully? Can you lie your way through their base if you go dark side?
I'm actually not sure.
That's a good question.
Because I had to, kill, let's say, minimum of 20 Sith in that base, including a Sith Master. But while you're there, yeah, there's some missing Selkath children that you're asked to investigate, and they're in the Sith embassy being basically,
brainwashed, I think.
Basically, yeah, brainwashed, indoctrinated, talked into joining the dark side, and you can convince them otherwise by either presenting to them evidence of other Selkath being killed by the Sith, or by force persuading them or force dominating them. There's a couple ways to do it. But if you rescue them and find what you need in the Sith base, and then leave, well, no matter what you do in the Sith base, when you leave, you are immediately brought to a tribunal for murdering a bunch of Sith, which unfortunately happened to me early. At one point, I wanted to go back to my base to get a different team and then return after I'd only done like 2 rooms. But it turns out once you kill someone in the first room and then leave, you go to trial anyway. So that was another save reload situation for me.
Oh, I had a save reload with the actual trial. I ended up confessing. That goes bad.
Being too much of a truth-telling Jedi is maybe didn't work in your favor that time. But But if you go to trial after you say, let's say you clear through most of the base, if you present evidence about the children being indoctrinated by the Sith, or present evidence about the Sith plot to if you basically uncover Sith plots or find evidence that puts the Sith in an unflattering light and present it at the trial, you can get out of punishment from invading the Sith base and killing 25 people.
Yeah, I mean, I always felt very sympathetic to the Selkath for their position. I mean, I know it's bureaucracy, and I know that at times it seems ridiculous, but the reality is that they control the
Culto.
Is it Culto? Yeah. Culto, which is like a healing agent that both the Sith and the Republic use. And if they were to cut off supply to the Republic and just give it to the Sith would just invade their planet. If they were to only give it to the Republic, then the Sith would destroy their planet. So the only way they can basically survive is sort of playing both sides.
Yeah, they're obsessed. In a way, they're obsessed with non-conflict and procedure, in a way that is reasonable at one level for what you presented, but also, you know, is them also willfully turning away from atrocities committed by either side, especially the Sith.
Mhm.
And it's sort of like by taking neither side, you're allowing evil to happen, which paints them negatively to the player. But also, there's something very frustrating about seeing something that, you know, should have the urgency of a video game, I press button thing happen, be tied up in annoying bureaucracy.
Yeah, it's see, I understand why it's one of your favorite places in the game, and there's a lot to do here that's great. Like there's swoop racing, there's the underwater culto cultivation plant. There's also this is one of the places where you can get a side quest that I didn't follow up on because I'm stupid light side.
There's again a Haradan.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I did that one and got a bunch of dark side points, but then you know, just earned all the light side points back because the rewards for it are pretty good.
Yeah, I
Mm.
was
I just
stupid
missed
light
out
side
on it.
too.
I was stupid light side, but I don't mind an assassination job here or there if it gets me a +3 strength gauntlet. I care about loot way more than karma in these
And I
video
believe
games.
that makes you a gray Jedi.
Makes
Sure,
you Jolie's
yeah.
friend.
At best.
I am. If I were to replay this game, I would have a gleefully chaotic dark side Jedi consular playthrough. I that's beyond a shadow of a doubt. Like I don't care about doing what I would really do in a video game in real life kind of thing. Like when I play games with karma systems, I almost always do the good version first because that just feels more natural to me. But if I like a game enough to replay it, and I think I mentioned this in the previous episode, I've done this for games like Infamous 1 and 2 and the first two Mass Effect games. I think there's something very, very fun about being incredibly evil on a second playthrough and just seeing how the game like explains itself with you acting this way. And I liked KOTOR well enough that if I were to do a dark side playthrough, I've already thought of how I would handle it.
There is some, I mean, this is my criticism of the dark side in general, which is the basic idea of the dark side makes sense to me, but in every iteration I've seen, they just become cartoonishly, nightmarishly evil, just like mustache twirling.
Yeah.
Like I don't exactly like I don't quite understand why the dark side makes you into a cartoon villain, with like no subtlety at all, no, I guess, shades of gray. It just becomes very much a how should I kill this person who asked me for help in the most ridiculous way possible. Almost going out of your way at times to be evil. Like there's a choice that's coming up at the very end of the game, which is hilariously funny if you're looking at it from a dark sense of humor. I'll tell you that in a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to feel like I'm attacking Star Wars fans, but Star Wars fans that really care about the material, they often try to espouse the way of the Grey Jedi until they're confronted with the overwhelming evidence that almost all Star Wars stories with the dark side are, dissolve into cartoon villainy. So it's like I like the idea of a Grey Jedi that uses the Force and is dark side in every way but intent. Like I like the idea of a character like that, but there just isn't one. Or at least in certainly not in KOTOR, and certainly not in the main film franchise.
And I just feel like dark side characters should be pragmatic, not hilariously over the top evil. Like there's a difference, but like certain characters should be cruel, like the Emperor. Yeah, Emperor Palpatine is a cruel man, and there are cruel people, but there are points of diminishing returns with evil where it's just like, why would anyone follow you? Why would anyone join the Imperial fleet if there's a chance that Darth Vader could choke you out on the bridge for coughing?
There's one
Like,
scene in KOTOR that totally makes me think of that with the apprentice, and he just walks
Yeah.
on the bridge. And, yeah.
Yeah,
it's
is that
Mhm.
Darth Bandon, who I definitely accidentally called Darth Brandon like 3
it's
times.
a perfect name for him,
Yeah.
isn't it? Darth Brandon. Going to the gym, doing some dark side reps.
Mhm. Yeah, more like douche Bandon, right? I mean, I like the idea of a gray Jedi. It's just not represented in this game at all, and we are not using Star Wars Extended Universe to defend anything. Trust me. In KOTOR, they don't really give you that choice. Like, if you want to be if you want to have a dark side playthrough, it's going to be a lot of murder and slavery. And in Manan, I would love to try a dark side playthrough to get through those trials as a dark side character, but I don't know exactly how that goes because I was very light side. And the one time I accidentally left the room too early, I reset because I didn't want to lose that trial. And if that's the first time you engage with the Manan judicial system, the second time is probably defending Jolie's old friend in a murder trial, where at first it really does seem like he was having an affair with a Sith spy and may have been set up. But then if you dig around and find surveillance footage, which is available to you, it looks like it turns out Jolie's friend really did kill the Sith spy. So you have a lot of evidence to sift through with witness testimony and and confronting Jolie's friend's wife about the affair, and a lot of things that can that allow you to defend Jolie's friend, whose name I forget. I'm sorry. Like you can defend him in good faith and have him found not guilty, or you can find the footage of him murdering the spy and choose to show it and find him guilty, or choose to not show it and still have him be not guilty, which is so confusing. I don't think they even give you light side or dark side points for that. They just
No one's a winner.
yeah, they're like, no one's a winner. Here's some experience points. Now Jolie is just really disappointed.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's a great side quest because it actually makes moral demands on you. If he is found guilty, then the Republic is going to be punished for his act, and that will help the Sith. So your question is, do you greater good, essentially?
Yeah, and I did do the move for the greater good. I confronted him privately about killing the Sith, but then allowed him to be found not guilty. Basically for a pro-Republic reason, but it didn't give me any dark side points. Unlike the real best side quest in the game, the Geno Haradan Assassin's Guild quest, which is the Skyrim Dark Brotherhood equivalent quest of of KOTOR.
Mm.
Someone on Manan says he's a member of an elite Assassin's Guild called the Geno Haradan, and gives you a list of targets to take out. I think it's 5 total. First, sort of 2 easier ones, then 3 more challenging ones, and they all give you dark side points. But they also all give you pretty good rewards. Like, you get a good piece of equipment for killing each of the more challenging 3, and some of them are real weird. Like, one of them is the one target that's on Manan. If you can deprogram his security droid or convince his security chief to leave, you have a pretty easy one-on-one fight. But without the requisite skills, you have a 3-on-1 fight that's more difficult. And you can't have your allies for some of the Geno Haradan quests, which is which makes it a little bit more challenging. And the guy that you have to track down on Kashyyyk is a shapeshifter, and first you have to sort of like find him in the Shadowlands and confront him in his Wookiee disguise, and then he turns into one of the small apes that's all over the Shadowlands, and you have to basically go around and talk to every single one of the apes that's scampering around until you find the one that doesn't react naturally, and then kill him that way. It's it was a real weird but really interesting way to resolve that. And then after you kill all the targets, the quest giver for the Genoharadan reveals that three of them were part of the council of the Genoharadan, and now he gets to inherit the entire Assassin's Guild. And you can take him on for a final battle on Tatooine for also some pretty good rewards.
Oh,
But
wow.
again, it gives you a bunch of dark side points, but it is I think a pretty fun planet hopping side quest. I'm glad I did that one.
That's a mentality of a villain that I've never understood. The idea of they use you to like, haha, you've killed all of my very formidable enemies. Now I will kill you. And you're like, really? Have you not been paying attention how bad an idea that is? Like, that's just terrible strategy.
Yeah, the quest giver there really should have just walked away. Maybe given me more rewards. I would have been fine with that. But him ambushing you in Tatooine, asking you to come alone, but then coming with like 10 people, but you're allowed to bring your party for that one it's one way to handle it, but it's again very silly villain mentality. Create like building the weapon that you use to destroy yourself practically.
Because you level up too.
Yeah. But we talked about Jolie's character quest and the Genoharadan side quest. Did either of you have a favorite side quest in this midsection of the game?
I like there was one with Wookiees on trial, which I actually thought that was interesting. The light side kind of makes you feel bad. Like there's really no real right answer to it.
Is that the one where you find the corpse of the Wookiee, and in his data pad shows that he was selling out his fellow Wookiees as slaves, but he was a very upstanding, honorable Wookiee in their Wookiee society. So bringing that up is harms multiple people's reputation,
Yeah.
sort of deal, because the Wookiees
Yeah.
are very honor
So you
focused in
basically
their
have
society.
one guy take the fall for killing him, but he refuses to explain why he did it.
Basically the plot of Sins of the Father in Star Trek: The Next Generation.
But did you have a favorite side quest in the in throughout this game? Because I mean, BioWare they're well known for their character writing, and their RPGs. I'm specifically thinking of Mass Effect, I guess, have me want to do every single side quest, and this is an early version of that.
My favorite side quests are actually on Korriban, which we'll talk about presumably in a few minutes.
Yeah, let's do that. When you wrap the Manan storyline, you go to this underwater dungeon, which is a pretty cool dungeon. A little bit, some Bioshock vibes of going around a facility where some of the people present have gone mad. Slight horror vibes, but definitely not full on horror games. But then there's the annoying water walk sections.
The animation with the water suit on is
Yeah,
funny.
you have to go around with the water suit, and if you're attacked by a shark, you have to use the sort of the sonic pulse item that you find to instantly kill them. I didn't mind it, but I wish that the walking around in the water suit was faster.
Yeah, that seemed slow for no reason.
Yeah, you just become a big daddy for a little while.
Yeah, you're floating around like you're, I don't know, like you're dressed as the Michelin Man and walking very slowly underwater, and you can't cast your Jedi speed to mitigate that. But ultimately, you realize that that this was a secret Republic drilling facility done with sort of an under the table agreement with the with the Selkath, because some of the Selkath wanted to support the Republic and not the Sith, so they have this secret deal for the secret mining facility. But the mining facility awoke the sort of mother shark of all of these deadly sea creatures, which her cry makes Selkath go insane, and she's attacking the drilling facility over and over. And by finding some surviving scientists, who you have to talk out of not murdering you first, because you're given the option of poisoning all the sharks, which would deal incredible damage to the ecosystem. Yeah, or destroying the drilling facility, which would get the sharks to go away peacefully, but would ruin the Republic's mining operation. And I went with the perhaps more obviously light side, destroy the drill, so harm the Republic, but also be better for the environment of Manan. And again, after you finish, no matter how you decide to do that, you find the star map where the sharks previously were. So either they're driven away or poisoned. And once you have the star map and go back to the surface, you're on trial again, and you can try to force persuade your way out of it, or tell the truth. And the Selkath will look at you more favorably if you destroyed the facility versus poisoning all of the water. And I think if I don't know if you can be executed at this trial. Maybe you can, but I think you're banned from re-entering Manan if you don't resolve it in a way that they like.
Yeah, I mean, understandably, if you destroy their entire ecosystem,
because that's what they threaten you with. But I think maybe if you go dark side and you have dominate mind, you probably can poison them as well as get through the trial. But I didn't try that. My persuade score was always a little less than I wish it was, because my charisma stat wasn't that high, and because I went with the Guardian class, I didn't have nearly as many skill points as a Sentinel or Consular. But that's how Manan fixes itself, and then something special happens once you find 4 pieces of the star map. But we're going to skip ahead to Korriban first, and then we'll talk about the Leviathan and Endgame. But Korriban is probably my second favorite planet after Manan, because you basically have to infiltrate the Sith Academy and do a lot of really fun Sith politics, and bespoke dark side dungeons on Korriban to gain favor with the Sith headmaster, because the only way you get to be a Sith and enter the secluded area where the star map is to gain enough favor with the headmaster. And the ways to gain favor are to find Sith artifacts or murder your fellow competing candidates. It's really silly, and it was kind of fun, like basically being a paladin hidden amongst dark knights and staying true to your paladin roots while becoming the best dark knight. I was very amused and entertained by a lot of what happens in Korriban.
Yeah, I had a fun time there.
it's interesting. At first, I was like, "Wow, these Sith, they're really, really trusting. Like, have they not been hearing what I've been doing across the? Like, I basically have a Sith halo, or I basically have a Force halo at this point. Like, and I'm roaming the galaxy, and I'm like super, super light side. Anyone could tell just by looking at me or talking to me for 2 seconds. And they're like, "So you want to be a Sith? Come on in." And then I thought about it and was like, well, on the other hand, in their society, everyone is kind of trying to stab everyone else in the back. So yeah, they would think the worst of me.
Yeah, and the reason you're able to enter the academy so easily is because the headmaster's apprentice sees how strong you are in the Force and is eager to bring you in, because again, power and ambition mean everything to the Sith. And Basil is so concerned about being recognized on Korriban, because again, she's a bit of a Jedi celebrity of sorts. You can't actually take her out of the ship. She can't leave the Ebon Hawk for any of the Korriban missions. But you're able to bring along anyone else, including Juhani, who's almost more rigidly light side than Bastila is. Almost.
Juhani like has a panic attack from the second she leaves the ship until she gets back on.
Poor Juhani.
Yeah. She's not having a great time on Korriban, but you're having a pretty good time, because you can you can even flirt and try to seduce the apprentice and one of the candidates, like not ending in any romantic encounter, just to try to convince them that you're on their side. And
you really got to think about flirting with Sith, Mike.
Oh, I really do. Yeah, I love the I love the drunk ass Sith soldier on Terrace. I hope she made it out of there okay.
I do too.
But yeah, in Korriban, there's I think 4 Sith temples in this ancient ruins, and plus 1 cavern that you can explore. One of them has the star map in it, but the others are all just like nice small to medium sized dungeons to navigate. One of them has an assassin droid that's gained sentience and doesn't want to be an assassin droid anymore, which is awesome. Another one has a crazy old hermit Sith that is torturing one of the other Sith candidates. And
That's my favorite side quest of the game. I love this side quest.
It's pretty good, and I think I tried to have myself and the candidate be tortured equal number of times because again I'm approaching this from a light side perspective, and I was able to have the other candidate survive and defeat the Sith hermit. But then looking it up later, it's like, oh man, if I had killed the other candidate, I could have had his good lightsaber.
Oh, I didn't
crystal.
know he could actually survive. Oops.
I think you have to. I mean, the way I did it was I think maybe there's 5 questions that the hermit asks you, and I had the candidate be tortured 3 times and myself twice, and that seemed to work, but I don't know how many end scenarios there are for it. But there is a way to kill both of them, and that's how you get all their loot, which made me, again, I'm a longtime Diablo player. I got loot on the brain sometimes.
Yeah, I feel like loot would be the downfall of many a light side Jedi in the real world.
Yeah, it would be for me, for real. Like I would. I mean, as much as you like to play hypothetical games with your friends, like, oh, would you be a dark side Jedi or a light side Jedi? And it's like, oh, absolutely not. I would fall to the dark side so easily, tempted either by either like flirtatious Sith officers or loot. One of those would be my downfall for sure. Yeah. I am weak-willed in some ways, and I'm not afraid to admit it. But generally, they just give you a ton of options and stuff to do on Korriban, and if you do, I think 3 or 4 of them, that's enough to impress the headmaster and allow you into the temple where the star map is. And once you take care of that one, which is a little annoying because you have to go through that one solo, and there's some tough monsters in there. One of the handful of times I died in this portion of the game was you fight 2 really strong beasts that are a little difficult to do. I had to like sort of inch my way towards them and fight them one-on-one instead of at the same time to win. Because I think they killed me twice. Do you remember the part I'm talking about?
Yeah, they're the
I forget what they're called though.
I should know this because they are a fairly famous Star Wars monster.
They're not Rancors. Were they the Terra Cartans? Those?
I just remember them being pains in the butts.
That's their canonical name right there.
Sure, pains in the butts. The name sounds kind of like Baraka's people from Mortal Kombat, but I can't remember that race either. It's not important. What is important is getting through that temple solo. Is how you get the star map and also eventually confront the apprentice and headmaster together. You can side with one or the other or neither. I think if you side with one and kill the opposite, they basically welcome you as their new apprentice, and you can sort of just let that happen and then leave quietly. But if you kill both of them and make your light side intentions clear, you have to kill basically the entire academy on your way back to your ship.
It's pretty funny. Like all these people you talk to and like even named characters, they just lose their mind and start attacking you on the way back.
You can actually spare the apprentice, I think.
You can turn her to the light side.
Oh, you can? Oh shoot! I wish I had tried that. That's interesting. I just killed both of them.
You have to build a relationship with her and like make friends.
So there was a way to semi-flirt with her even more. Darn.
Yes. But then it's not. There's no big story change or anything like that.
She just kind of lets you go.
Darn. So I would have loved to welcome her to the team. Like, sure. Give me a Jedi character that's actually dark side on my party instead of just 2, like one crusty Mandalorian and one rusty robot as your only true dark side characters. That's interesting. I wish I had tried that, but no, I killed both of them, and then I had to fight, a few dozen Sith in the academy, a few of whom I was just very friendly with like 30 minutes earlier. But that's the 4th planet in the middle third of the game, Korriban. These 4 planets with their quest setup and their conflict setup and the settings themselves are very different, which makes for a pretty nice meaty mid game. I had fun navigating all of it.
Yeah, it's a pretty good mix uh, of Star Wars worlds, and like it gives you a nice cross section of the universe. I, there wasn't a miss on any of the planets for me. There was no planet that I disliked.
Yeah, I really like them.
I had annoyances like I wish that the underwater travel was faster, and I wish that maybe the Tatooine desert parts were less empty. But those are minor quibbles. This is a good RPG mid game. But once you have four of the star maps, and again, they're these four planets plus Dantooine makes five, you're automatically foisted into a dungeon on a warship called the Leviathan. And your party is separated. You, Karth, and Bastila are abducted and tortured, and you have to choose one of your other party members to navigate the first half of the dungeon alone. And I picked Juhani just because I trust
I
her.
did too. Yay.
Who did you use for your player character, John?
Uh, Actually, for me, this was the funniest part of the game because I picked Jolie, and this entire section was just this naked old man running around this ship trying to find his stuff and being very saucy and sassy about it all.
I mean, he is a sassy old man, and I love him for it. But basically, first you have to find the rest of your party members and equipment. Then you find the player character Bastila and Karth. Then fight
Being tortured.
Yeah, they're being tortured. Then you confront and Malik is not on the ship, but he's alerted to your presence, so Malik is coming, and it sort of culminates in a fight against Malik himself, which is, I don't know, a moderate challenge for this part of the game. Maybe if you're under leveled, it can be kind of hard. And after you get him to a low health percent, the big twist happens. And the way that they shoot this is, I think, just brilliant. It has you go through a bunch of the flashbacks that you saw with Bastila through the game, that she was saying were you sharing dreams of what happened between her and Revan, and maybe other scenes. But then, and it culminates in, and they bring back dialogue that puts your role into a more suspicious light through this game, and it ends in Revan, who's always been masked in the flashbacks that you see, dramatically removing the mask with the camera panning around them, and with the reveal that you are in fact Revan. And your backstory was you've known through the whole game was essentially programmed into you after you were taken prisoner and brainwashed on the starting ship of the game that was fleeing the Basila's battle with Revan. And the only people that knew in the entire of your allies the entire game were Bastila herself, perhaps, of course, Jolie, just because he knows what Revan looks like because he's an old Jedi veteran, and the Jedi Masters on Dantooine, who were purposely accelerating your Jedi training in hopes you could be returned to the light side and a weapon in the battle against Malik. Whether that gives you a bad taste of the Republic in your mouth or not, or how you feel about it. And again, I knew what the twist. I've known what this twist was since probably 2005. So I maybe it didn't have the impact that was desired, but I think it's pretty darn cool. It does. There's foreshadowing. It has you re-examine all the events up to the point. It's pretty dramatic in how it changes the tone of the game. Your party members all react differently and interestingly to it. With my favorite reaction probably being Zalbar's, because he's like, whatever. I still have the same life debt to you. I'm with you through the end, Revan, or Sam, because my character's name was Sam Retro. Whenever I do a playthrough for the podcast, I not always, but very, very often name the main character Retro, which I did here. But it was, I thought it was pretty cool, even though I had been spoiled it many years ago.
I think it's a really good twist because even if it's spoiled and you kind of know what's going to happen, it still has impact because of those that cutscene you mentioned where you are seeing just little comments that characters throw off, but recontextualized with this new revelation, and you can actually see how it's layered into the game. I think it's a great twist. I mean, they felt they needed to do something on the lines of "I am your father," and I think they pulled off their own unique twist that still
Yeah,
really
I mean,
works.
I knew about it beforehand too, and I really liked the presentation for it.
Yeah, and I think that Even though it maybe I was not blown away by it necessarily, this twist is well known and celebrated as one of the great RPG twists, and I think that that again that's earned. This was just really cool.
I agree.
Yes.
At the end of that, you again have this duel with Malik. Bastila is abducted, and you see her being tortured by Malik in scenes after the events on the Leviathan. But you still have one more star map to collect on whichever planet you haven't finished the quests on yet. And
I think that was such a smart decision too. The fact that because you still have an entire mission to complete, and it's a lot of playtime. Like each planet is a fair chunk of playtime. It actually gives you time to miss Bastila and to give a realistic time frame in which her character can go through all of this, rather than just the next scene being let's rescue her, and all of a sudden she's, well, spoiler alert, but turned.
Yeah, Bastila is turned to the dark side after being. I think they mentioned she's been tortured for about a week, and it's unclear if it was the torture or if there was really a whisper of the dark side in the back of her mind. It's vague exactly what happened to her, but she is turned to the dark side, and you have to confront her about it. But before you confront her, you can use your now knowledge that you are Revan in the other quests. I think HK47's quest line is about finding his programming and revealing that he was originally programmed by Revan. If the knowledge that you are Revan basically allows you to skip the line on that quest and have him just tell you about his adventures without having to have a high repair score. And I think that the events on Korriban and Kashyyyk are different if you are Revan, because the supercomputer guarding the star map on Kashyyyk recognizes you as Revan, who unlocked the star map years earlier, and allows you to not have to fight it. And I think it gives you a few extra passes on Korriban dealing with all the Sith there. It's the game does not ignore the fact or hide the fact that you're Revan after you make that discovery.
It's pretty funny on Korriban because you can tell people you're Darth Revan and they're like, yeah, right.
So you can't actually use any passes there?
There are a few places. I don't think I hit any, but I do think it's pretty funny that you can just tell people you're Darth Revan,
okay.
And they'll be like,
I didn't know you
Darth
actually
Revan.
fought the supercomputer on Kashyyyk.
Well, the thing is, I did the star map on Kashyyyk last. I did all the quests on Kashyyyk, but then the star map's droids killed me because I couldn't pass its tests or whatever. So I just got out of Kashyyyk and then did Manan and Korriban and went back to Kashyyyk after Bastila left my party. And then and I was like, all right, well, I'm level 17 now or whatever. I can definitely fight these droids, and I finally have the destroy droid spell or force power. But then the computer recognized me as Revan, and I didn't have to do the quiz or the droids.
Yeah, that's what happened with me.
But after you have all the star map pieces, it leads you to a planet that's I think it's called Rakata, because the people on it are Rakatans, and if you recognize the silhouettes of the various builders holograms that you found occasionally across the game, I think on Kashyyyk and Dantooine, maybe a few others, you realize that this is the collapsed civilization of the builders that built the Star Forge thousands of years ago. You could call them Rakatans or builders, but they're basically been reduced to tribal warfare over the years. There's two factions of them. One sort of warlike Rakatans that are trying to that engage in torture and cannibalism and all kinds of awful things, and then the elder Rakatans, which were like the priest caste that are that have a lot of regrets about what their civilization used to do and are interested in possibly destroying the Star Forge. So there's an obvious light side versus dark side thing here. You can kill all the warlike ones for the light or dark, or you can betray the priest ones going dark. It's there's probably a lot of persuasion checks that I only could pass sometimes on the builder's planet, but it's a quite pretty planet. It's sort of a beaches and jungle a little bit.
It looks a little bit like the planet that was in Rogue One, actually.
Yeah, maybe it's supposed to be the same one.
I don't think it's the same one, but I know that it just the general design of it. It's islands and beaches and idyllic weather, and it's lovely.
But eventually siding with one of the factions of Rakatan gives you access to the temple in the center, which is what you need to deactivate the shields around the Starforge and let the Republic fleet in. And it's a pretty lengthy dungeon. There's some good puzzle solving and Sith hunting in there. But at the summit, there's no boss fight. There's you confront Bastila, and if you're light side like us, basically she tries to draw you to the dark side. It's unsuccessful, and she leaves for the Starforge. But if you're dark side, I think you can like reveal your intentions and have her rejoin your party there. But then Juhani and Jolie, or one of them, might be killed there permanently.
Both of them, I believe, because both of them are with you, or at least if you saved her.
Yes.
If you saved her early on Dantooine, then they're both definitely with you, and they both rebel, try to stop you, and you kill both of them.
Yeah, so I think you can, if you're dark side, you can have Bastila join you immediately, but kill Jolie and Juhani. Or if you're light side, no one dies and Bastila flees.
And then if you're dark side, you get to the darkest moment in the entire game here.
Oh, what happens? I was only aware of Juhani and maybe also Jolie dying.
If you stick with Bastila and you kill your Jedi friends, you go back to the ship and everyone's out front and you're like, I am Darth Revan, follow me if you want. If you don't, I will destroy you. And Karth, of course, does not follow you, and he manages to get away. And most of your droids are on your side, but Mission cannot accept this. She's like, no, I cannot accept that you are this person. We've gone through too much together. You are my friend and I trust you and everything. And you can tell Zalbar to kill her.
Oh, yikes.
Oh, wow.
And he's like, no, I will not kill Mission. And you can be like, you owe me a life debt, kill Mission. He'll be like, no, you can force persuade him and he will kill his best friend for you and just be crying about it. And he'll just bash her. So yeah, you can convince Zalbar to kill Mission for you.
Oh, that's the worst. I love it.
Yeah, and then he is with you for the next few missions. He eventually betrays you, or comes to his senses more likely, on the Starforge and fights you. But yeah, so you can that's the strongest friendship in the game, and like this lifelong bond between these two, and you can just destroy it for fun.
Going to the dark side results in the death of over half of your party. Under some heinous circumstances. That's great. I love that.
Yeah, but you don't need them because you're Sith.
Yeah, you'll have Bastila and one of the droids for your final party, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
or Canderous, I guess. But I mean,
Canderous is with you. Canderous is like, you're strong. I like you.
But again, he was probably the party member I cared about the least. And for my final party going into the Starforge, Bastila wasn't an option. So I had Juhani. I think I had Juhani and Karth, because I just liked the idea of Karth being in, again, because he's sort of the most Republic rah guy on your team, that I sort of liked having him for the final mission. And the Starforge, it's a giant space station. It's full of Sith. There's not much else to do here, but there's a couple interesting boss fights at the end on the Starforge, and the Starforge is presented as basically a space station so immersed in the Force that it has its own version of sentience, and it's unclear if the Starforge can turn people to the dark side at will, almost like indoctrination in Mass Effect, avoiding spoilers for Mass Effect, or if it's just so full of the dark side that if there is some dark side temptation in your mind, you're more likely to fall to it. Like I don't think the Starforge enslaves people at will with the dark side. It's just a very, very powerful dark side entity. Is that about right?
I think so. I think it's circumstances that make someone fall to the dark side. I mean, technically speaking, Revan was just as light a Jedi pre-mind wipe as post-mind wipe. The difference was that pre-mind wipe, Revan had just gone through this horrible, horrible war, just like with terrible atrocities, and had seen so much. So when Revan saw the potential of the Starforge, that would have been what tempted him or her into using its power. Whereas our Revan post-mind wipe has seen the destruction that caused and the horrible terrorist destruction, etc. So they aren't tempted by it at all.
If you choose the light side, the desire to destroy the Starforge is very strong for sure.
Yeah. It's just a matter of choices, right? And what they've gone through.
And that's what each of us did. But again, the Star Forge is basically this giant space station that's self-sufficient, makes its own army of droids and warships, and the Sith that have taken over it are using the warships in the war against the Republic. That was sort of what I guessed, but it was maybe a little bit more subtle than I really thought. It was like indoctrination in Mass Effect before going in, but I think it's a little bit more subtle than that. But first, there's one boss fight against an endless supply of droids, and you have to sort of go from computer to computer and either hack them or deactivate them to stop the supply of droids, and then before wiping them all out. Which is, I don't know, it was a little bit of an awkwardly positioned boss fight because I had to remember to disengage from combat to go to the next terminal. But
and also they wait for you. They're like, no, we'll wait until you're done there.
They it's like you call a timeout when you're playing tag or something to use the computer 8 times before, or maybe it's only 6 times before it resumes.
They're not the smartest droids.
No.
There's lots of them, but they're numbers more so than smarts.
But then the final battle against Darth Malak, I died once against it, but then I sort of realized what I had to do and won the second time. And like a lot of the good facilities and good boss battles in KOTOR, there's a couple of ways you can approach it. But I guess before we get there, you do have a final meeting with Bastila. She's using her battle meditation skill that is unique among Jedi that allows someone to turn the tide of battle by just directing the Force to work in favor of one side over the other. So when she uses battle meditation, her side will have more lucky shots and more
morale.
Better morale, better maneuvers, better everything. It's really powerful in large scale battles, which is why Malak was so determined to turn her to the dark side. And in this confrontation, I believe you can kill Bastila. You can convince her to go back to the light or back to the dark if you I don't know if you're a light side Jedi, you can do a dark side switch at this point. But by passing some persuasion checks, maybe helped if you romanced her as a male Revan. Like I think you get like 1 extra point for persuasion or something if you admitted your love for each other.
Yeah, you can do it if you're a female Revan, but it's a lot harder.
Right. But like if you have a romantic angle, it can help you here. But basically, you have a couple opportunities for persuasion checks, and if you get one, then she goes back to the light. Right. So yeah, for me, it was Juhani, Karth, and myself fighting Malak, and Malak he deals a lot of damage. He has a lot of force powers, and he has this is a little dark. Like he's wiped out the Jedi enclave on Dantooine, and I think the only survivor was the Jedi Master that's the same race as Yoda there, because you see him with the Republic fleet, but it's presumed that most of Dantooine has been wiped out, and he has husks of survivors of Dantooine attached to apparatus in his command room, where he drains their life periodically throughout the battle to refill his health bar.
Yeah, that was fun.
There's a couple ways you can get around this. I think if you have a lot of points into the life drain dark side spell, you can go around and drain life from the corpses before Malak does, and so he won't be able to refill his health anymore, and you can defeat him that way. And I think there's a Jedi Force power that can do the same, but I didn't have it. Like I only had some self-boosting powers and destroy droid, and so I don't think I could free the bodies from the apparatus. Is there a way to do that as a light Jedi?
I don't believe so. They're brain dead anyway.
Right, they're brain dead, so they're living bodies, but no minds. So like I think they mentioned that so that you don't have any moral quandaries about killing them.
About killing
them. Exactly. But I didn't have a way of destroying them.
Neither did I, actually.
I know you can with life drain, because I looked up how to deal with them after I lost the first battle. But what I ended up doing is a really silly strategy that I had only used it once the entire game, and it was the battle in the Sith Temple on Korriban, and that is fight him directly, and when his health got low, when he went to heal himself, I would use that moment to go into the menu, the pause menu, use every single stim and healing item I had on myself.
That's what I did.
So or like one of each stat stim, because I have barely used stat
Mhm.
stims the entire game. I had like 15 of each. So and then confront him again after Malik had healed himself as a fully healed, fully stimmed best version of myself, then cast Master Speed again, then take him down again. So and you do that about 7
Mhm.
times and you can win.
Yeah, that was my strategy.
My item hoarding that I had done for 35 hours finally paid off, and just using all of my best one-use items in the final battle. And that was a little satisfying, if kind of a meathead way to beat the game. But
It worked.
I don't mind taking the meat. I do not mind taking the Jedi meathead path.
No. That's why you chose your class.
Yep, that's why I went Guardian, so I could force jump, master speed, like jump slash double wield, a red and a blue saber, because those are the best crystals. Yeah, that was it. Because they sell some hella expensive and super strong crystals at that Yavin space station at the end.
There is another way to beat Malik that is obviously non-canonical and is
tell.
it's flat out cheating. It's flat out cheating. It's you literally use the console commands, and if you type in Dance Malik, he turns into a dancing Twi'lek dancer and just like dances in place.
Well, okay,
and that's the end of the game.
That is certainly a there is no cow level way of beating the game, but but for the StarCraft fans out there, but I did not do that.
Yes, that is the most powerful light side skill of them all, is to transform your enemies into dancing.
I mean, that reminds me of the disco ball grenade in a couple of Ratchet and Clank games. Every enemy in the game can dance uncontrollably in a few Ratchet and Clank games with the disco ball grenade called the Groovatron, and it's pretty funny making every boss in the game dance, but not with a console command, no. But after you defeat Malik, perhaps predictably, you have the Republic side wins, and you have a medal ceremony at the end with all of your surviving teammates in a group photo that is a little reminiscent of Han and Luke and Chewie getting medals at the end of Episode 4. But
Calabar gets a medal though, which is nice.
Yeah, I did not. I assume it's different for a dark side and a final scene, but the light side, it was sort of cute, and you get the swelling Star Trek Star Wars movie. I made the same mistake. Yeah, I don't think I've seen a number of Star Trek episodes into this double digits. But yeah, it was a little saccharine, but kind of a sweet ending for a Star Wars.
It was fitting.
Yeah. I didn't mind it. It was sort of nice seeing the credits roll with all these BioWare designers that I know went on to make the Dragon Age and Mass Effect games that I love, and the two doctors that as executive producers who started out making D&D games in the 90s and then sold their company to EA for for $500 million in the 2010s. I don't know. It was fun to roll credits on this game. And while they were rolling, my thoughts were, how would I do a dark side playthrough? I would probably go like Scoundrel Consular and just Force Lightning everything, and maybe I don't know, maybe I would use HK-47 more. The game was so fun and satisfying and interesting at different points that my first thought was not, oh, what am I playing for Retro Encounter next month? It was, how would a second playthrough go? So that's about as high a compliment as I can pay.
I very much enjoyed this game. I think it's a great game. I think it's a great RPG. I do wish that they had, obviously, they've cut a lot of content out of this because they only have so much time for development. I do wish they offered a more fulfilling gray Jedi choice, so it wasn't quite as binary as good and evil. So you could actually have a pragmatic gray Jedi option. But that doesn't matter. I mean, it's literally a binary choice in all systems, but I think they did an amazing job expanding the Star Wars universe in a time when it badly needed expanding. I mean, this would have been developed at the same time as Phantom Menace and just after Attack of the Clones, and a lot of Star Wars fans were feeling I certainly was feeling disheartened at the time. I wish I knew about this game back then, because I feel like this would have given me a story that felt true to Star Wars. and I don't feel there's been a lot of that lately. So it was great to go back and play this, and I really think this is a great game.
I enjoyed my time playing it immensely. It helped me get over feeling salty about Rise of Skywalker.
Okay, it didn't do that for me, but it helped remind me of better days.
I know that the sequel, which was not developed by BioWare, was developed by it's not Obsidian.
Yeah, it was
Yeah, it
Obsidian.
was Obsidian.
Obsidian
Yeah,
did the
it
sequel.
was Obsidian. They have a more character focused karma system where you can have a dark side companion go to the light side if you support them enough, or vice versa. So it's less binary global choice and more binary character specific influencing choice. And the Dragon Age games do that a little bit as well. There isn't really a good evil choice. You just, your characters will like you more or less based on your choices, and the characters are more multifaceted than dark side or light side in the Dragon Age games. So
Well, that's what Obsidian did with New Vegas as well. Like when they, Fallout 3 it was a binary good evil system, and then they brought in like shades of, you can build your reputation with various groups in good ways and bad ways. So yeah, I mean, I would like to play the second game. I'm not going to play it immediately, but it's been on my list for a while now. I purchased it a long time ago, so
the second game is well liked, but it's incredibly buggy, and most people recommend that you use fan-made fixes on it before playing it. But those fan-made fixes are very, very abundant. So it's not hard to play a good version of KOTOR 2. Maybe do some research before just firing it up on your PC or 360 or whatever era it released in.
True. Or if you wait, we might get a sequel to the remake that's coming out.
Right. And speaking of which, we are expecting a remake of KOTOR 1 later this year. We don't have a date on it, but I do believe they said 2022. Let's say they preserve most of the story and feel of this game. What's one change you would like to see happen?
Well, I mean, I think we can safely assume that the battle system is out the window. There's no way this thing is going to be turn-based.
Yeah, turn-based with a lot of action happening in between turns works for 2003 just fine, but it's going to be much more of an action RPG. Yeah. I'm confident when it releases.
Yeah. I think it might be what I said before. I would like to see. I'd like to see a third way. I'd like to see some more options, pragmatic options, rather than just being cartoonishly evil or cartoonishly good. Because you really do, like I said in the last episode, to get the full experience of this game, you really do need to choose one or the other in order to unlock some of the better abilities. So I'd like to see a little bit more freedom like that. What else? Maybe make the romancing options a little bit more organic, open them up a little bit more. I would
actually like to see more romance. A little bit.
Yeah, as a male Revan, you can romance only Bastila, and as a female Revan, you can romance Karth or Juhani. But
the two most stiff characters in the game,
right. And there's not really a romantic scene or even a kiss or a catharsis or anything. You just sort of admit your love for each other, then it fades to black a little bit. And I don't know. I don't want to get weird or horny about like Mass Effect's romance scenes or anything, but I wouldn't mind a little more than what they gave us in KOTOR
1. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think they'll probably end up pulling. I haven't played it, but I've heard good things. I think they'll probably pull some inspiration from the Old Republic, the MMORPG, because it has an excellent reputation as a MMO. Expands the Star Wars universe. Actually, it's the only piece of pre-Disney Star Wars that's still going on and that's continuing. They haven't retconned it. Like everything in that game is pre-Disney.
Wow. And it's been going on for a long time. I think over a decade by now. And it's still free to play, but with a lot of paid options for cosmetic changes or things like experience boosts. But I think it's even having a recent expansion. It's been going on a long ways. But obviously, I mean, if they're going to expand the romance system in KOTOR 1, obviously the choice is to have a romantic steamy scene with T3M4. That's what the fans want. That's what we demand. give us our adorable astromech droid romance scene. But if I am talking about the possibility of human droid romantic encounters, I think it is time to end this episode of Retro Encounter. Thank you so much, listeners, for joining us for discussing Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, a game that I sort of went in. I sort of went in expecting to like it because I like all the BioWare games I've played, and I like Star Wars well enough, and this game has a good reputation. But yeah, this is just a good ass RPG, and I was and I was just and it didn't even waste that much of my time. I did a lot of side content, and I think my playthrough was a little bit over 30 hours, like say 32 hours. That's not brisk exactly, but it feels like it was like a meaty RPG that wasn't a 70-hour black hole the way sometimes RPGs feel like.
Yes. I quite like the length of it.
Yeah, it didn't consume my life as other games have, but at the same time, it provided a pretty fun experience. It's interesting. I can't think of another, like we were talking about licensed games and like, you know, various IPs. Yeah, Star Wars has had some real stinkers over the years, but maybe it's because, you know, they own their own gaming studio. Star Wars has some of the best licensed games ever made, and I think KOTOR is the crown jewel of that. And hopefully it will continue to be the crown jewel of that with the remake.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people love the X-wing and TIE fighter space shooters from the '90s. That Jedi Last Order game from a year ago or 2 years ago, but people liked that thing too. I think they're trying to make Jedi action games a sub series going forward. I would be the opposite of surprised if we get a sequel announced for that thing soon. But
and let's not forget the king of all Star Wars games, Shadows of the Empire for Nintendo 64.
Okay, I was worried you were either going to say Super Star Wars for the SNES or the pod racing game for the N64.
Goddamn, the entire Super Star Wars series is so hard.
It really is. It's NES hard. It is like NES Ninja Turtles hard, and I don't think I've made it through the halfway point of any of them. Although I tried at least 2 of them.
Gorgeous games though, especially for the SNES.
Oh, yeah, no,
I think they look great.
They're decent Super Nintendo games. Just very difficult, even if you're decent at action platformers. But we're not on a podcast about action platformers, although I would love nothing more than to do Klonoa episodes in advance of that collection coming in a few months. We're a podcast about RPGs and also action games with RPG elements, which is my way of saying that starting next week, we're going to have a month full of Metroidvania games. It's Metroidvania March here on Retro Encounter, and we're having 3 dedicated episodes. One about Castlevania Aria of Sorrow, that's the Castlevania half of Metroidvania. Then an episode about Super Metroid, which is the Metroid half of Metroidvania. And then the 3rd episode about Salt and Sanctuary, which is an indie Metroidvania game with a lot of Soulsborne elements. That is maybe one of the flagships of the indie Metroidvania movement of the 2010s, because it felt like indie developers were really excited to make their take on Metroidvania for the past several years. So 3 Metroidvania games that we are going to have episodes on in March. But what's also happening in March, we're doing a Pokemon episode that's sort of in the wake of the recent hype around Pokemon Legends Arceus.
Arceus, I think, was the decision that we eventually made on random.
Wrong answer. Still calling it Arceus. And also an episode about RPG adaptations that is a sequel to our 2018 and 2020 adaptations episodes, and also are going to fit alongside a feature on the rpgfan.com main website. But speaking of which, you can visit rpgfan.com, comment on our message boards, visit our Facebook page, check out our Discord, our Twitch, our Twitter page. Something going on all of those places. You can find links from rpgfan.com or search rpgfan or rpgfancom on any of those. If you want to reach out to the podcast directly, you can email retro@rpgfan.com or check out our 3 other podcasts: Random Encounter every 2 weeks, hosted by you, Jono, and mostly about randomness.
Yes, it is.
Then there's also Rhythm Encounter every other 2 weeks, mostly about RPG music, and all 3 of us have been on that one. Please listen to any RPG music podcast that strikes your fancy. And also Phoenix Edge, our partner podcast hosted by Hat and Eric, currently on hiatus, but they will be coming back hopefully later in 2022. You can review any of those 3 podcasts or Retro Encounter on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, whatever podcatching app or service you use. Please give us feedback. We love feedback. We also love direct feedback. So how can you reach us that way? Starting with you, Jono.
You can find me on Twitter at Jono_Logan. You can send me an email. You can send me an email at jlogan@rpgfan.com, or if you have anything for Random Encounter, you can send it to podcast@rpgfan.com.
Now, Audra.
You can email me at audrab@rpgfan.com.
And for me, the easiest way to find me is Twitter. I am at The Real Monsoon most of the time, at Evoker for Dogs at other times, and on RPG Fans Discord, I am Monsoon Mike. I don't know about you, Jono or Audra, but I think if I ever replay this game, which I'm not shutting the door on, it is going to be really, really dark. Listeners, thank you, good night, and good luck.